Plus, to be a part of your day, Kevin Miller in the morning. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Well, what about unconditional versus conditional love? Dr. Drayvon James joins us, motivational speaker, best-selling author, and certainly here to educate us on the real meaning of love. Good morning, sir.
It's ma'am, and good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Well, there you go. That's what I get for assuming. So I guess if you want to have a happy Valentine's Day, you don't do what I did, which is just assume.
That's okay. That's all right.
So we have some insight for Valentine's Day. We'll continue on with my stereotypical offense here. What do most of people of my ilk, the men, don't get about Valentine's Day, or how to effectively communicate with their better half?
I don't think that they don't get it. I think maybe that they're not in tune to their own self-needs and their own self-awareness. And women just really want the same thing they want, to be shown appreciation. It's not, I don't think it's a sex thing. It's just a human thing. We all want to know that no matter what's going on, we're safe, loved, and cared about. Now, how we externally express that is different. It's a personal choice, but that's what women want.
Well, and it seems like women get everything these days. What about the men?
They get everything these days. Well, you know what? It should be reciprocal. It should be reciprocal. If you're in a healthy relationship, first you're giving to yourself, and it's from that abundance, that overflow, that you give to somebody else. So you got to check those relationships. If the men aren't getting anything, they need to check with their significant other and see if she's giving to herself.
Yeah, why don't we give to ourselves?
Oh, so many reasons. I get this question all the time. I do a webinar, and I get this question all the time. Why do we not know ourselves first? Why do I want you as my spouse to know me better than I know me? Because that means we got to accept some things about ourselves. We got to love ourselves unconditionally, and that's so hard because everything that we get involved with tells us we got to be better, we got to be faster, we got to be smarter. We can't just be us, but you can be. That's the way that you are.
Indeed. So,
yeah.
When we take a look at this day, your thoughts on it?
I had a guest on my show Monday who told me this, and I love it. I'm going to use it for the rest of my life. She said she renamed Valentine's Day as Value Me Day. I love that. Value Me Day. And I think that's the main thing. But that's my thought on today. I love the way she summed it up, is that when you value you, when you care about you, it's so much easier to value somebody else. It's so much easier. This morning, my 16-year-old son said to me, Mom, how come one day out of the year it's got to be so special? He goes, people expect you to run out and spend all this money. And I said, what's wrong with that? Why can't we have one day to show somebody that we absolutely love them? We got 364 days that we should be pouring into ourselves. And with that overflow. So this one day, make it special for yourself, make it special for somebody else. If you're lucky enough to have a significant other, go out and splurge, have a good time. And it's not all about money. Splurge with your time. Take a walk in nature, do something together.
So when we take a look at that, though, it's easier said than done. And, why don't we have Valentine's Day every day, really?
Why? Yeah. Why don't we have that state of happiness every day? And it all goes back to self-care and self-love, because we don't turn inward. And when we do turn inward, this is how we turn inward. We turn inward with criticism and self-doubt, judgment and ridicule. And until we take some time to really love on ourselves, and in the middle of our mistakes, it's so hard, right? In the middle of our mistakes, to still see the greatness and the goodness in ourselves, then we won't have Valentine's Day 365 days of the year. We'll still be struggling with that one day of the year, pretending that it's all about the chocolates and it's all about the roses. And those things are wonderful. I hope we get those more than once a year. But they're not sustainable if they're not built on the foundation of this robust, strong inner self-love and self-appreciation and acceptance.
Dr. James, what do you say to people that that don't have a Valentine's today?
Oh, I say celebrate Value Me Day. Value Me Day. And some people don't want one. Let's just say that. Be clear. Some people are happy. They don't want the complications of bringing another person into their life, because you and I know it is complicated. But for those of people who would like to have a significant other, when you increase your self-love, your self-awareness, your self-appreciation, you radiate that. You'll draw that organically into your space. So be on the lookout for next Valentine's Day to be amazing, but you got to do the work on you now, because you don't want to settle for just any old kind of person coming in your life. It's pretty easy to pick up a Valentine here or there, but you want it to be authentic. Not that it's going to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but you want it to be authentic. You want that energy to be that we're willing to grow together, stay together, and evolve.
Dr. James, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
They can reach me on my website at Dr. Dravon James. That's DRDRAVON, drdravonjames.com. You can email me at the same space, info@drdravonjames. And if you want to know where I'm going to be speaking, you want to be a part of my webinar trainings, visit my website. You'll find it all there. And, of course, you can get my book, Freedom is Your Birthright, on Amazon.com.
Dr. James, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, there we go. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Yeah, let's try this one. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Who's this?
This is me.
Tea Party Bob?
Tea Party Bob.
Well, good morning.
Yeah.
What can we do for you, brother?
Who is this?
This is Kevin. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Oh, Mr. Miller. Well, I have a few things to say this morning, if you've got a minute for me.
Yeah, to save us from the love doctor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a very interesting show this morning. I want to thank Mr. Munns for his comments this morning, and also Mr. Meckler for his comments, telling us that we need a constitutional convention so we can change our lives, even though we have a bunch of crooks running our country who do insider trading, who see themselves.
Well, we're going to get rid of the crooks by getting rid of the laws that govern the crooks, and we're going to have all the good people. It's kind of like the hemp argument, really. Hey, we're going to pass the hemp, but we promise it's going to be good hemp. Of course, everywhere else, people have kind of messed with it as well.
Well, look, we allow our legislators to make laws, even though we know that many of the laws that are enacted are for the benefit of the people who get them elected with their campaign contributions, which is not always in the best interest of the electorate. Now, when it comes right down to it, most of the laws that are made are not necessarily in the best interest of the people, but for the best interest of the corporations with the campaign contributions. Alcohol is permitted and will not be banned because there is such a big business and they have so many lobbyists, it would be impossible to get it banned, whereas something like hemp doesn't have a lobbyist organization working for them. And as Dorothy said, it was outlawed by President Nixon in 1970 in the war on drugs, when hemp never played a part in getting people high, but was a threat to industries that could be affected because they could produce products more cheaply that would replace theirs. You know, the proof of this is when hemp was taxed back in 1937, the heads of DuPont Chemical and the Hearst Corporation, who had a huge paper business, were concerned that hemp would be stiff competition for them. Hemp could be used to produce both paper and substitutes for chemicals DuPont made. So they used their influence with elected officials to tax hemp along with banning marijuana. Now, the marijuana ban was probably one of the better things, but the hemp, there was no reason for that. That was purely a money thing. This is not the case. This is not a case of unintended consequences. This is a case of manipulation of our elected officials to favor one business over another because one has enough money to buy that kind of influence. We have the same thing going on in big pharma industry today, where they are trying to take over the supplement industry because they see the handwriting on the wall that people are finding many natural cures for their ills and getting away from the drugs because of their high costs and their side effects. CBD oil is a perfect example of the substitute for expensive drugs for epilepsy. We see even the government now challenging their pricing for drugs and wanting to lower costs. Let's face it, Kevin, when it comes right down to it, who has the most money to influence the government and make it corrupt? It's the corporations. It's not the people.
Well, that's capitalism. What are you talking about? Getting rid of capitalism now?
No, I'm talking about getting rid of the corporations' ability to lobby the way they do.
Yeah, how would you do that?
By banning it.
Banning lobbying from corporations, isn't that a First Amendment issue?
Banning the money, banning the contribution.
Hasn't the Supreme Court ruled that money is free speech?
Yeah, that's something they've been trying to overturn quite a bit too.
Right, but I mean, I don't know if that was Citizens United or not.
It was Citizens United.
Right, at KIDO Talk Radio, that that money was speech, was First Amendment.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to money and speech, we don't have a say anymore. It's the corporations that have the say. The people have lost their say. And until we realize that and we change some things, we're not going to have a government that we can actually say is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Well, it's of the big
money. The
corporations. Right, but it's like the legal system. It's about the big money. Now, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If hemp, that's a fascinating conundrum. If hemp passes both houses, if it gets out of the committee, if it passes the House and the Senate, I guess Governor Little would sign it because it's all about the farmers. That's the pro-hemp propaganda going on.
Yep.
I do
believe he would.
Yeah, but if it doesn't get out, we'll see what happens. By the way, what did you think of Representative Moon's talk about the grocery tax there?
I have to tell you something. The only way we're going to get this grocery tax is if we get them to do it this year for next year. Because next year they'll have another darn excuse and say we can't do it this year again. It has to get passed this year, and they have to get it through.
Well, never let us say that we're not optimists on this program. Tea Party Bob, GemStatePatriot.com. We'll agree to disagree, but we love the spirited diversity of ideas that you don't get with the libs.
Hey, happy Valentine's, Kevin.
Will you be my Valentine?
You're close to my heart, Mr. Miller.
That's
not that close.
That's not a
not
no.
That close.
We're living in a new world today. The Sweet Prince and the Treasure Valley Cherub.
I don't do guys, but I'm a good friend with the cherub. I like the cherub.
Now, wait a minute. I didn't say it had to be anything but that. I mean, you could be I don't know. The rules are changing today. Thank you, sir.
I think you better get away from this or you're going to get in trouble.
You have a good day.
Take care, my friend.
All right, our great friend, Tea Party Bob. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
For landmines, because you could have that, it's been known to happen before to people. But we have not gotten it yet. It'll be sent to us at some point, and we'll take a very serious look at it.
There we have it. The president, as the bill continues to make its way percolating through the House and the Senate, the president's going to look at it. You have conservatives saying, don't sign this bill, Mr. President. On the other hand, you have Chucky Schumer.
Let me repeat that. It does not fund the president's wall, but it does fund smart border security that both parties support.
Yeah, tell it to the people in San Diego. By the way, how many people live here now that used to live in San Diego? I've heard San Diego, one of the most beautiful places to live. The cost of living is out of your mind. And San Diego at one time was overrun with the illegals coming in. And then all of a sudden, San Diego built a wall. And the illegals went further down the road. It's kind of like what lawyers will tell you. When you say, well, I want to stop someone. No, you want to stop the criminals from harassing you and let them be someone else's problem. So San Diego's problem turned into Arizona's problem, turned into Texas's problem. You can't tell us that walls don't work, but we've made it immoral. We've made it here. And look at the semantics. Instead of solving the problem, well, it's smart border security. Oh, does that mean open borders? No, it's smart. Okay. Well, what's the best way of keeping somebody out? A door. So we're going to get rid of doors and have a smart system? No, walls work. It's crazy. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Why don't you join the show now? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And we continue the legislative watch. Boy, doesn't that sound official? And don't forget Lars Larson right after Sean Hannity, Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This coming in from our Legislative Bureau. Do we have a Legislative Bureau? Well, we do now. From the Press Tribune, or from the press. There's a new bill being considered that would allow police to make an arrest without a warrant if a suspect threatens a school. So here goes the story. When Moscow police responded to reports of threats from Michael Mastro Jr., who in I guess a dash of infinite stupidity, went to YouTube and said he's going to shoot up the local schools last March. They wrote him a citation ordering him to appear in court, and they let him go. Why? Because they couldn't do anything else. Now you've got a representative from Moscow introducing a bill that would update Idaho's laws to allow police to make a warrantless arrest in such cases like Mastro's. The Judiciary Committee is taking a look at it. Under current Idaho law, police cannot make a warrantless arrest of a person who makes a threat of violence against the schools. How do you feel about that? A warrantless arrest. Now, you still have to have probable cause, and if one of these ne'er-do-well nitwits threatens a school, does that cross a line? Is that expression? And I know we've had a huge constitutional lecture here this morning. By the way, if you want to catch up on the Bill of Rights, you want to catch up on the Constitution, today is the day you need to go to KIDOTalkRadio.com and download the podcast. And you'll hear the tyranny of the government. You'll hear about the rights being trampled, people wanting hemp, people wanting marijuana, people wanting this. But a warrantless arrest. Back to current Idaho law, police cannot make a warrantless arrest to a person who makes a threat of violence against a school. Does that cross a line with you? Now, our constitutional libertarians that inhabit the majority of the populace here in the Gem State will say no. Limited government. Until you have the worst case scenario. Now, other people will say, look, Kevin Miller, this is just like the Patriot Act. Here's what's going to happen. It's all in the name of security. And by the way, in our country today, where is our security? Well, we're secure, but we have no privacy. You know, I always love having Mike Baker join us. CIA guy, a person who has been on television and all this, noted expert on counterterrorism and terrorism. He does not appreciate Edward Snowden. He does not think that Edward Snowden did a good thing. Edward Snowden exposed the deep state, the dark state, whatever you want to call it. And you know what? Nothing happened. The government continues with warrantless searches, seizures, the idea that they can monitor you with no fear of repercussions. Look, they did it to Donald Trump, the current president. So in Idaho, would you be in favor of this? In fact, had Mastro's arrest come a week earlier, police wouldn't have been able to cite him for a misdemeanor. This is the guy that cut the YouTube that he was going to shoot the schools in Moscow because he didn't make the threat on school grounds. He did it on the live stream, whatever that means. Under a new law just implemented last year, which amended state law to make it illegal to threaten a school even if that person makes the threat electronically off school grounds. So here's what they want to happen. If you threaten a school, the police can arrest you. Will that stop school violence? Under the bill, it would eliminate the need to do what the police had to do. There are a list of crimes a police officer can make a warrantless arrest for, even if the officer didn't witness the crime. Does this concern you? To me, I'm thinking, who's to stop somebody from making something up about you, me, or anybody else? The bill would add threatening violence upon school grounds through use of firearms and other deadly weapons to that list, even if the threat occurred off school grounds. Which brings us to the big case. How do we keep our schools safe? We'll talk about it next. 828, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
Channel 7's every giver.
Thank you, Larry. So here's the idea. We want to keep schools safe, so we're going to allow the police to be able to arrest you if you make a threat. Now, to me, it's common sense. If somebody makes a threat, I'm going to go blankety blank someplace. They need to be dealt with. Others that may not appreciate progressive liberal Kevin Miller will say, no, it's the First Amendment. Would love to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin. The westbound lanes of I-84 in LaGrange closed this morning.
Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Sean Hannity follows Dave Ramsey right here. By the way, coming up, much more of the conversation, whether or not police need a warrant if someone threatens a school. That's right. They are considering that legislation in the Idaho legislature. Appreciate Representative Dorothy Moon for joining us today, debating the hemp issue. If you missed that, you can go to our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. In addition to that, there's something that you should check out. We have a newsletter now. And if you'd like to get up to date with the latest news and some of the stories that we cover here, you can always go to our website, get the newsletter. And here's the deal with that, whether it's the newsletter or the KIDO Talk Radio app, we're not going to, we want to do this responsibly. And whether you have an app alert for everything, we appreciate the real estate space that you're giving us. So it's not like every 10 minutes you're going to get an app from an obnoxious radio station. There's already too many of those, or too many of people, you sign up, you think you're getting something of value, and all of a sudden you get a sales pitch. And look, sales is wonderful. We love sales. It's great. On the other hand, you want content, and that's what we're trying to do. And again, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but we always try to make Idaho a better place. Coming up, we will take a look at this new bill, and we'll take your phone calls on it. Are you down with allowing police in the Gem State to be allowed to arrest someone without a warrant if they threaten a school? First, KIDO Talk Radio, your official home for Fox News Radio here in the Treasure Valley. When you hear Fox News on the radio in the Treasure Valley, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. John Decker joining us live from the White House. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today? Kevin, what's going on?
Not bad. Just trying to keep up with the president. Will he, won't he? The drama continues. You're at the epicenter.
Yeah, that's right. The president sort of vacillating, uncertain as to whether or not he's going to sign that legislation that provides border security. And I think that ultimately at the end of the day, Kevin, the president will sign this border security bill. Reason being is because he doesn't want to have a government shutdown, another one. And reason two is he did get something that he wanted, which was significant funding for his border wall with Mexico, close to $1.4 billion. That's not what the president asked for or wanted. He wanted $5.7 billion, but it's a start, and the president can ask for more money next year. I'm certain he will, and he can certainly ask for more money in years 5, 6, 7, and 8 should he win re-election.
There is always that looming issue, and I believe Senator Graham in the hallways of the Senate yesterday said he expects the president to sign it and then possibly either look for the funding through other places in the government or go full bore and declare an emergency. Yeah,
I'm one of those who doesn't believe the president will do that. I think the president, I know he's spoken about it. First of all, I don't know where he's going to get other money from elsewhere in the government. He simply can't do that, under the Constitution. If he could do that, he would have done it, right? He's been in office for 2 years. If it was that easy, then, he would have done it his first week in office and said, hey, I got money here, I'm putting it there. And it's not that easy. It doesn't work that way. The Constitution doesn't allow that. And so I think the president ultimately is going to have to, sort of swallow his pride to a certain extent and be pleased that he got $1.4 billion to build 55 miles of border barrier between the U.S. and Mexico in this year. He can ask for more money and will certainly do so next year. And again, when he wins or if he wins re-election, he can ask for more money in years 5, 6, 7, and 8.
And plus make it the big issue during the re-elect run.
It will be an issue, absolutely. No matter who the Democratic nominee is, this will be a big part of the conversation. This will be a big part of the debate between Democrats and the president. And so I have no doubt there'll be other issues as well. The Supreme Court, once again, will be a huge issue in 2020, but this will be an issue that will be discussed and debated, certainly first among Democrats competing for the Democratic nomination, and then for whoever the nominee is, it will be taken directly to the president. And the president has done a very good job, I believe, in terms of making his case. He's done so with a national primetime speech, and he's also, of course, brought up this issue during his State of the Union address last Tuesday night.
How are his approval ratings?
They're pretty good. I mean, let me explain what I mean by that. Fox News has done a poll, just came out last night, 6 p.m. Eastern. It shows that his public approval rating has ticked up by 3 percentage points to 46% from 43%. 46%. Obviously, the president wants to be above 50. That being said, Barack Obama, he won re-election when his approval ratings were in the mid-40s. George W. Bush, he won re-election when his approval ratings were in the mid-40s. And let's not forget the wild card here. If Howard Schultz decides he's going to run for president, that's a third party in the mix that I think it would take more votes from Democrats than Republicans. So that's problematic for Democrats. It would be good news for the president if he decides to, I believe, run for president.
John Decker, we always appreciate your hard work. We're blessed to have you on here in the Treasure Valley. Thank you, sir.
Kevin, thanks for having me on. Always a great pleasure to be on your show. You have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you, John. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Let's go to the phones. Kevin Miller in the morning. If you're just tuning in, a new bill will allow police to make a warrantless arrest if you threaten a school. Let's start with Brian in Nampa. Thank you for your patience, sir. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. Happy Valentine's Day.
And to you.
I've been married 25 years, so this is number 26 with my wife.
That's awesome.
And just a quick note, the older you get, the more simpler Valentine's Day gets and the better it is. You know, everybody's about spending money. Money is time, so just instead of spending a lot of money, spend a lot of time with your spouse or better half. This thing with the schools, man, we just try to keep reinventing the wheel, don't we? Let's see. So we started concealed carry in Florida. And if you go back east, you'll find out that concealed carry isn't concealed carry. It's concealed limitation. Like there's everywhere there are signs that say you can't go if you have a concealed weapons permit, almost to the point where the only place you can have it is pretty much your car and your home. So is it any surprise that we've got a lot of violence in places like that? No, we've disarmed our public. Hasn't Benjamin Franklin said it? If you're willing to give up your freedom for a little bit of, you know, maybe safety, you're not going to have either one. So how do we solve the problem here in Idaho? Do we need to do the thing with the cops? No. Do I think it needs to be looked into and they should go get a warrant? Yes, but how about this for an idea? So we've got concealed carry in Idaho, and we have enhanced concealed carry in Idaho. Let's say if you're a bus driver and you have your enhanced concealed carry, you should be allowed to even carry while you're driving the bus. That's not allowed in Idaho. Let's say you're a teacher and you have one of those two. You should be allowed to carry in the school. Or a parent. Anybody that has their concealed weapon permit should be allowed to carry anywhere. That's how we fix it. But we don't do that. What ends up happening is they say, okay, here you got your permit. The state trusts you with a gun. Here the state trusts you with a bus even. You can go get a CDL, but, you know, you can't mix those two. And then we have the nerve to tell our law enforcement agents that work in the schools that want to have a safe so they can put their AR-15 in the safe in the school instead of leaving it in their car. Let's just think about this for a sec. Would it be easier for a criminal or a kid to break into a car and remove the gun there or the safe in the school? What we need to do is trust our people, we the people, with the rights they have, and that's how we'll make our schools safe. Kevin, an example. I'm like the 7th generation that's had guns and never had a problem in my family with guns. My wife and children feel very safe in my house with me and my guns.
Well, we need more people like you, Brian. We appreciate the phone call and your insight. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Have a good Valentine's Day. And, you know, the hemp thing, I like hemp clothes. I've never done drugs. I think there's a proper use for anything. The problem is when we use it for things that are inappropriate. And I think that's what we need to look at. It's the same thing with driving. If you drive sleepy, you can kill people. You shouldn't do it. we need to get back to some common sense here.
Exactly, Brian. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Meridian. Bill, good morning. You're on Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Hi, Kevin. I wanted to let you know that a similar law got passed in Oregon about people threatening schools. Well, they went overboard on it, and one kid was in school and said, "I wish that guy would just go away." It was that kid that was, pro or anti-gun that was going around, and the guy just said, "I wish that kid would just go away." And the school district reported him, and the sheriff's department came in and took all of his dad's guns out of the house and stole them all, refused to give them back even when the kid moved out, nothing. So they use it as a means of gun control, whether or not it was a viable threat or not. They just thought it was because he didn't like somebody. And they've gone way overboard, and that's without some kind of checks and bounds, this thing can go, oh, I can take away everybody's guns in the United States because their kids make some, remark that they don't like a teacher. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there has to be some kind of checks and bounds to this law.
Sure.
Or it's a all hands on deck. I can take anything away from you that I want to take away from you, and who's to say you can't stop me? So anyway, I don't know.
No. That's the scary part of it, and that's what I wanted to hear. The other side of the story. Now, let me play devil's advocate with you. What do you say to people that, hey, bottom line, if a kid makes a threat or somebody makes a threat and then they follow through with it and the police don't have the ability to arrest them, how do you reconcile that, sir?
My reconciliation is put the kid in jail, put him in counseling, put him in whatever. But to come in and take his father's guns, that means that everybody in the household and everybody is being punished by what the kid does, okay? And then the other thing is, too, who's going to say is a viable threat? I mean, just to say, I don't like a teacher. Oh, that's a threat. They're going to come in and shoot everybody. And how can they say that's not viable or is viable? Who makes that decision? Some Democrat that doesn't like people to have guns? You see what I'm saying?
No.
I just don't understand where that line's going to be drawn, and it makes me a little scared.
It should. Bill, thank you for listening. Love your insights here.
All righty. Have a good one. See ya.
All right. Let's go to Star, Idaho. Jay joins us now with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Kevin. Happy Valentine's Day.
And to you.
I kind of like what Bill had to say there about the gun control, about having, I think if we allow cops to start arresting people without a warrant, like Bill was saying, who's going to say, oh, that was a threat? People are getting all offended about the littlest things these days. So I just see that as them getting their foot into the door to be able to arrest us without a warrant on other stuff. You know what I'm saying? I think they need probable cause. They need to have a warrant. We're innocent until proven guilty. And they're kids. They're adolescents. I mean, if you remember when you grew up, kids were vindictive when we were younger,
Yes.
But and then it's as far as this marijuana, hemp and marijuana, I think that we should just tax it. If people want to smoke that stuff or eat it or whatever they do, then they should be allowed to. Then, the government telling us what we can and can't do, it just makes us like slaves. We're not a free country. I think, I heard somebody else talking the other day that maybe they shouldn't get benefits and stuff like that because we all know that marijuana smokers are kind of lazy and don't want to go out and work, so they're going to need food stamps to feed their munchies. Well, they should have to take a urine test.
Jay, thank you. Appreciate you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Mountain Home and Doug. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin, it's already the checks and balance and the line drawn in the sand is already there. It's called the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment. I mean, no, you can't arrest somebody without a warrant, period. Our framers of our Constitution went through that in England. And I want to ask you a question. Who's pushing this bill? Democrats?
Let me see. I think it's a Moscow Republican. It's I had it right here for you. Let me see.
A Republican. Well, he ain't much of a Republican. He ain't much of an American.
Here we go. Bill Gosling of Moscow.
And he's a Republican.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look at that kid that killed all them kids in the school in Florida. How many times did I hear that they already had him on record and in trouble wanting to do that? On record, Kevin. The FBI, did they do anything? Hell no. So now they want to just pass a law here that if I say that or some kid says that, they can come arrest them? No. People stop and think about this. It's just a totalitarian freaking government wanting to be able to do whatever they want to do, period. That's it. And I agree with the man about the armed citizen. That's the problem. They won't let us carry arms. I mean, even like he said, you get a concealed weapons permit, big freaking deal. That's why I've never got one. Our Second Amendment says we can carry the right to keep and bear arms. To me, that means any damn where in the United States of America. But try doing that and see what happens. No. Just look at the state of Washington, Kevin, what they've done to their law enforcement there. They have literally neutered their law enforcement. I got neighbors that have a daughter that is married to a cop in Seattle. I've met them right here where I live out Syrup Creek. They are absolutely hands tied and neutered because of I ain't even calling them liberals. They're communists. People, wake up. I know you keep hearing this from me, but wake up. Kevin, I ain't read it yet, but I'm gonna. A friend of mine just picked it up. You ever heard of a book called The Naked Communist?
No.
I hadn't either until just about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to read it because it's been out for a long time. I guess it's been out from the 60s or the 40s, and the guy that told me about it, that read it, told me to read it. He said it's exactly what it's about is Hitler and how he reigned and how he got in, and he said it's exactly what's happening with the Democratic Party. They're not progressives, they're communists. And that's exactly how they're trying to get into power and take control of this country.
Doug, great call. Appreciate it. Quickly to Larry in Parma. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I retired from law enforcement in Idaho, and I can dispel a lot of the myths and things that people are saying or they're paranoid about. We have good laws. They're properly enforced. There's good check and balance to our prosecutors. Things are done right. The real problem is there's a lot of laws that we cannot enforce that are federal laws, such as a mentally ill person that's in possession of a firearm. An officer just can't seize that firearm permanently unless that person's been adjudicated by a judge as a mental defect. And that's the term mental defect, not my term. But, you have a schizoid person, a known methamphetamine user, a criminal gang member. I think Idaho does need to empower our law enforcement to seize firearms from those people for our protection. Those are the shooters 99% of the time. And if you have any questions for me, I can try to answer them or clarify it.
Well, Larry, you need to call in earlier, or we need to get to this earlier. We thank you for your service, and we'll definitely continue on with this conversation. God bless you, sir.
God bless you too, brother. Bye.
Bye-bye. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Want to salute everyone who gives. And once again, we all have a lot of respect for people that write. Certainly an underappreciated gift that people have, people that grind it out. And so I always say this. I always attempt to write something meaningful. If you get a chance, it's on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com, what real love is, what is real love. And we talk about the people that make a difference, the people that take care of other people's kids, the people that sweep out the stalls at animal shelters. I have been so, not I, this is a we show. We've been so blessed by people that do these things each and every day. Ordinary heroes that make an extraordinary difference in our lives. Valentine's Day every day. Thank someone who loves you.